Jiu Jitsu saved my life, and I mean quite literally. So once upon a time, I actually stopped an armed robber as he was about to break into a woman's home at gunpoint with his friend. Now this actually made the local Informer paper, so I was famous in my town for about a week. And here is the clip in here. So September 2002 in the Informer, and it's me, such bravery, Rory 17, catches armed thug. So this was a fantastic day for me, but it could have very, very easily been my last day on this earth as well. So when I was 17, I was working as a removals man, as my dad owned a removal company, and we were doing a job in London just like we were every day, here, there and everywhere, lifting boxes for a living. It wasn't very sexy or fun. But one day we were in sort of the heart of London. It's quite a sort of nice road this bit was, but it was also very close to some rough bits of London. And I've walked out of a box, as you do every day as a removal man, and I just hear this awful like screaming, and it sort of, even now all these years later, I can still remember that sort of like make you shake screaming of like true terror. And I just looked over as I had this box in my hand, and I can see this old lady just go, they got a gun, they got a gun, they got a gun, in this foreign accent. And I just see this absolute unit of a fella sort of marching away with these sort of, you know, mechanic gloves on. And just out of pure instinct, to be honest with you, I just put the box down and started running after this fella, where he is now running at full speed away, and he was quite a distance away from me. So I've given chase, and we're going. But because he's so far away, it's taking ages to catch up to him. But I was very, very skinny at this point, and this guy was like He-Man. So as we're running, I'm getting closer and closer to this guy, and we then sort of going down all these different roads and chasing them, and I can feel I'm getting closer. I was a very good runner at that point. And as we're running, he threw something over a fence, which I didn't know what that was at the time. And then as I'm sort of getting within reaching distance with this sort of deep accent, he's sort of saying, yeah, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you. And to be honest with you, it was more adrenaline that just kept me going, because if I would have thought rationally, I probably would have just given up at that point, as it would only taken one pop, and that would be the end of me, and this story would never have come out. And yeah, anyway, I've got sort of really close to this guy, and I've managed to sort of jump onto his back, and we fall onto the floor, and I've managed to just get my hooks in, which is my feet sort of wrapped around it, and I'm trying to hit what's called a rear naked choke on this guy. But I haven't been training very long. I'd only been training for about 6 months. Didn't know the positions very well. I sort of had an idea. I sort of done a choke a couple of times flukily in training, but I was still very, very raw. But I managed to stay on this guy's back, and he was sort of trying to attack me, and I'm hitting him in the head. I'm trying to choke him out and failing, as his sort of neck was massive, and I didn't really 100% know what I was doing. You know, it just felt like we were struggling for ages, but luckily this guy started tiring out, and he sort of slowed down a little bit. And one of the people I was working with finally sort of caught up and held this guy's legs down. Anyway, we've settled down, and you know, we're trying to ask the people to get help. And he's like, okay. So we sort of relaxed a little bit, and my friend took his hand off this guy's leg for a second and went to sort of say to someone, please call the police. And this guy from the floor just kicked my friend in the face and knocked him spark out, and his tooth fell out on the floor, and he's completely unconscious, and he's trying to struggle to get up again, and I'm hitting him, I'm trying to choke him out, and I can't do it. I'm failing to choke him out, but just sort of restraining him. And a very elderly gentleman who was just tending his garden with a little plough runs over and starts hitting this guy on the knees and swearing at him. And once again, this guy sort of calms down again, and then another one of my friends turns up from the removal, and my friend now sort of coming back round again and sort of a bit disorientated and picking up his tooth, because he wanted his tooth, didn't want to lose it. And I've sort of managed to sort of skimmy off of this guy's back and then sort of stand over him. This guy's gone to get up again, and the friend I was with was just sort of absolutely stamped on his face, to be honest with you, and this guy was just like iron. I mean, my friend was a big guy, and this guy barely flinched, and he sort of had a foot imprint into his face, didn't get knocked out, and just didn't even really bruise. He was just sort of, this is an absolute mammoth of a man. Anyway, he's torn off of his like gloves, and the police had been called. Just felt like absolutely ages until the police turned up. It was probably about 30 minutes. Police turned up, handcuffed him, took him away, and I sort of felt the relief of, oh God, like the sort of reality of what had happened had sort of hit me, and I just felt my adrenaline like finally calm back down again. And then the police said to me, you know, we have to give you an interview, and I told them everything what just happened, which I just said here. But then amazingly, they said to me, you know, what was the guy wearing? And considering I've been holding him on the floor, trying to choke him out, punched him, and I've literally just been in a very awkward situation holding him there for about half an hour, do you know, I could not remember what he was wearing. Obviously, part of your brain just sort of shuts down in that moment, and you're just fully focused on what you're trying to do. And I was like, oh, there's a white t-shirt, I think, and sort of black trousers, and they were like, do you mean a black t-shirt and camouflage? And I was like, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah. And it did really amaze me how I just couldn't remember what this guy was wearing. But luckily for me, you know, obviously the papers picked up on his story, and I got put on the front page for it, so it all sort of felt worth it. And the lady who was the one that was, you know, held at gunpoint, she came over because we had to carry on with removal and finish this removal. And she was absolutely lovely. She brought us some chocolates and some wine. She was so grateful. She gave us all a hug, and she was crying, and she explained to us what had happened. And she'd actually come over from another country, and these two guys had noticed that she's on her own, and her husband had recently passed away, and they've sort of targeted her as a weak link, as she was in a big house in London and probably had something valuable inside it. And there was actually two men, and one of them I didn't see. He was a lot smaller, wiry apparently, and they both had guns. He had ran off before, I hadn't even seen him, but where this other guy was so much bigger, he was just a lot slower. And it turned out that what the guy threw over the fence was actually the gun, which the police later recovered. And I was waiting for this to go to court, and you know, I wasn't overly looking forward to it, to be honest. I didn't know if it was some sort of gang or what the situation was. But in the end, it actually never went to court, as this guy was here illegally, and he was deported. Apparently, he had a criminal record as long as your arm in his home country, which which he was wanted for, and he was going to be sort of going to prison for a very long time, is what I got told by the police. And the other guy they never found, and he just sort of disappeared into the crowd. So that was my story of how Jiu-Jitsu saved my life, because honestly, if I hadn't have known just the fundamentals of how to sort of control someone and try and sort of choke them out, this guy was much bigger, more powerful than me, and he would have done anything to try and get away. And if that meant killing me, I'm sure he would have done that, as obviously he doesn't want to go in prison for many, many years. But that little bit of knowledge saved me, and from that point on, I was completely addicted to everything Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, as I realised, that was just a normal working day for me. I had no idea that was going to happen, but sometimes life can thrust you into these situations, and why I think everyone should know a little bit of self-defence, because you never know when your day comes. I hope you liked today's short talk, and if you do, I may do a few more. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.